What is up out there in viewer land? Hope y'all are doing amazing. I wanted to jump on live like I do every Monday and kind of discuss the market, discuss where we're at, what we're doing, how to think, where to go, and all of the things that we need to do and understand to make educated decisions. So, without further ado, if you're watching this with me right now, just give me a hashtag live in the comments. Let me know that you're here with me, and make sure that you actually like and subscribe to this channel so I know that people like what I'm talking about. If I see more likes and more subscribes, it tells me that what I'm talking about is good. So just like and subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to share this link to my group. If you're interested in joining the group, just comment group down below, and I will put that in there as well so everyone can join that. We basically chat about the market, NFTs, Bitcoin, yield farming, whatever is kind of interesting at that moment in time. So it's a pretty good place to be. We don't shill. There's no shilling, which is amazing because shilling is what gets people wrecked. There we go. All right. So the market structure over the weekend was pretty awesome. We had a pretty good little dump there down to 17,000-ish. So a lot of people saw the pump today, and people are saying, hey, is it over? Where are we at? What are we doing? So let's go live and check out the market. First, let's check out CoinMarketCap. We have a basically down 10% in the 7 days, 0.5% in 24 hours. We went down to around 17,000, which somewhere around here, and then rebounded fairly strongly back into the 20,000 zone, which is kind of where we're sitting at now. ETH went down to about 800, which was incredible. And so ETH has kind of rebounded that back up to a pretty decent position as well. We're looking at pretty decent there. Tether's kind of sitting where Tether sits. It's actually the closest I've seen it to peg in a while. What US dollar coin, Binance coin's about to flip BNB. That's when you know the market's bearish, when literally it's only stable coins at the top. Nothing else really pumping too hard. Cardano, actually Solana, had a nice move. SNX, I think it went up like 90%, or it went somewhere around $1 up to like almost $3. The SNX pump was incredible. So everything's kind of following Bitcoin, as obviously as Bitcoin drives, the alts tend to pump harder than Bitcoin, especially when you hit that hard of a bottom. People are going to stack up on alts, then they're going to sell their alts, then they're going to transition that back to Bitcoin, and it's just going to perpetuate the cycle. So that's kind of what we can expect. And I'll talk about that in a second. But we can see a lot of the good layer ones like Cardano, Solana, Polkadot. I mean, even Dogecoin's pumping, but we've got a lot of the solid projects really moving. AVAX a little bit, Chainlink killing it. I think Chainlink's a good buy at the bottom. Chainlink's the thing that really goes nuts when we do hit another bull market. Even Litecoin, geez, underappreciated right there. Polygon's one of my favorites. Doesn't look like it had too much. Uni's up quite a bit. So it's been a pretty good 7 days, really pretty good couple of days for a lot of these alts. So putting them all back into a pretty good position. It makes a lot of people appear or get some sort of like mindset that we are in a pump and we're ready to go. So a lot of people start looking at it this way. They're like, we get back in this mindset. People start celebrating, we're dancing, we're ready to go. We're like, all right, it's time to pump. Let's go back to 100K. You got the leader of the free world, Elon Musk, pumping it up, even though he dumped it. But is that really where we're at? And the answer is probably not. But before we get into that, let's kind of take a look at DeFi. So DeFi, when we look at the chains, it doesn't really look great across the board. We've got really not really a lot like in the last day, because that's when money's really started to flow back in. We've had a pretty decent representation of the market looking good in the top like 7. Phantom's kind of sitting there at number 8. It's actually dropped below $1 billion in total locked value, which is pretty interesting. So Phantom's like 960 million, but it's pretty close to Kronos and Polygon. Then we've got Solana and AVAX kind of battling it out. Tron has positioned itself nicely in number 3. We've got Binance Coin, where it always sits in number 2, and ETH. DeFi's lost quite a bit of value. So kind of an interesting game in there. Optimism, I've been talking about a lot lately, is up 19%. So it doesn't look too bad in that environment. There's a lot of good projects like Phantom projects that are launching in Optimism. So that might create a pretty cool little dynamic to essentially have the community in Phantom on Optimism as well. So you have them on Phantom, but then the layer 2 scaling solution at the same time. So DeFi, nothing really crazy or amazing. We're still kind of losing value in DeFi. Doesn't mean DeFi is dead or anything's going on. It's just the fact and the idea of the bear market. When we look at the top protocols, MakerDAO has now positioned itself as number one. We've got Aave, which is the number two lending platform. Curve is now moving to number three because Curve's kind of designed around stablecoins and swapping stablecoins without a lot of slippage. After the whole Terra Luna fiasco, Curve took a huge hit because people didn't trust stables, which understandably, that's why this one, it's down so much. And then as we kind of move along, we've got some of our biggest protocols, the usuals that will be here for a long time, probably. We've got Uni, we've got Convex, which supports Curve. We've got LDO, Lido, we've got Compound, PancakeSwap, Binance, Just Land is Tron, Sun is Tron, Balancer, Frax, a lot of these really good, solid projects kind of sitting up there. One thing that I thought that was interesting was SNX though, man. It had a huge pump and it's like up 47% and 55% in the last 7 days, which is pretty interesting because I haven't actually seen SNX go on a really strong pump in a long time. So let's look at the charts and see where we're at. When we look at Bitcoin itself, let's go down here to Bitstamp. Tends to be the chart that goes back the farthest. But when we're here, what we're looking at and what I'm kind of looking at right now is we've got the 200 week moving average, which is sitting around 22,392. That'll be a major resistance point that we haven't really come near touching upon. But when we look where we're at, we're kind of in this channel of like the peak area of resistance is like 21,000. Like right there where that peak was. And then the bottom area of support currently is sitting just around, it's like 2,000, 20,000. Like right there. So this is kind of the box we're basically stuck in. And it's creating like a little zone that we're sort of battling through. So we bottomed out a few days ago down here at this 17.6 zone. And then we had a pretty decent like wick and drive out of there. We did kind of hit close to the top of the channel, come back through and then pushed, hit the top of the channel, came back through, pushed. Now we're about to come back up to the top of the channel. And so what's going to happen now is what we've done is before this 20,000 would have been the resistance line. And so now what we've done is we've cleared that. Now 21,000 has turned into our sort of resistance line. So what we're doing is trying to figure out a direction that Bitcoin wants to head. Now what's happening obviously is we're touching until we just break to one of the sides. In my opinion, on the longer time frames, we're not really positioned in a good spot to be able to break out of this. I mean, who knows? Maybe we could have a nice little breakout. And in bear markets, we do have pumps. I mean, there's a pump that could take us up and move us past the 200 day or 200 week and move us back down. So there are pumps in bear markets. It's just not like bull market pumps where it continuously goes upward. The dumps are a lot stronger. So what we're looking at right now, and what I'm kind of looking at is this 50 line here is, actually, let's go and look at we'll look at the rainbow a little bit too. But what I'm kind of paying attention to here is right now on this MACD on the 4 hour, it's actually crossed over bullish. So it crossed over bullish just right here. This was a good entry for like a long. When this crossover happens, in my experience, when the crossover on the 4 hour happens, it tends to be a pretty good pump. So you could actually, I mean, you can ride this. I missed this one, to be perfectly honest, but you could have rode this from, I mean, even if you got late on the pump, it would have been 18.6 up to about, maybe get out somewhere up here, 20,000. That would have been a pretty good pump to ride on along. And so that's something to pay attention to, because this 4 hour crossed here, it made it bullish, but now it's starting to waver. It's starting to peel back over, and we're starting to see our positive volume kind of reduce. So it's kind of telling me that we don't really have the volume for a big pump to the upside, and it's starting to peel over. When we go to like a shorter time frame, like the 24-minute, we're basically battling it out as we stay in this channel. So like on the 24, we're in pump mode. Now we cross over, we come in dump mode, cross over. We're starting to go into dump mode. Now it's crossed back over. So it's going to pump again, which is essentially just riding this channel. Up, touch, down, touch, up, touch, down touch. How many times will it touch? Who knows? It could be sitting here for weeks. We could sit here for a month. It's hard to kind of tell. But what's really telling me that we would probably head more towards the downside is when we go on the further further timelines, what we're looking at here is we had the big pump to the top. We've sort of touched it twice. We've touched the bottom. But on the daily down here, what we need for a good significant change of direction and momentum is for this. If this one crosses over, I would say we have a fairly significant move ahead. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to ride this thing forever until the daily comes up and probably tests itself and then pushes back down. One thing that's telling me that we're coming up on like a decision though is down here, we have sort of this RSI coming up, and we're way down here below 30, but it came up to kind of test the zone, and now it's peeled over sideways, which tells me what's going to happen is we're basically going to get rejected and move back down. If we could come back here and clear the 50, that would be a very significant turn of events that would probably lead us to move in a good direction. But from here, it's like we came up, we're peeling over, so we're probably going to peel back down. There's not really a ton of strength on the daily. Obviously not on the weekly or the monthly yet. It takes a lot to change that, but we've kind of peeled over sideways a little bit here, which is an interesting indicator on the weekly, because we peeled over, instead of continuing on this downtrend, it's peeled over sideways. So what does that mean? That means we could range right here for a while. Like we could range between, where's this, 21,000 down to 16.1 ish, somewhere in that range, somewhere like this spot. We could range from, that was too low, like 16,183 up to 21,000 for quite a while. I mean, we could just sit here and move up and down, back and forth. Maybe the big portions of dumping are over, and maybe we range now. And when we range, typically that's when we all die of boredom, because we're moving into this place to where it's bottomed out, but it's not necessarily done, and it's not going to go up. It's going to bottom out, and it's just going to go sideways forever. And we're all going to die of just absolute and extreme boredom. But then whoever survives, it's beautiful, because it's an accumulation period that we move into. So that means we just sit here and accumulate for like 6 to 9 months as it just goes sideways forever. And it allows us to come out of the bear market in a really good position. Looking at the monthly, we're still not, I mean, when the monthly starts crossing over, that's when we should hold on to our pants, because we're going to take off. But we're definitely not in that position. As you can see, like in some of these, when we look at this peak, we had like a major crossover. And then when we dumped, we started to peel over. As soon as that peeled over, we dumped all the way down, started to come back over. Notice, even though that went higher, it wasn't as significant of a pump on that second one. We could still see it here. And then we saw when we cleared over this 50, that's when we moved into this like significant downtrend. So the 50 tends to be a telltale sign of a downtrend incoming. And we're here, when we look at it now, we're kind of nearing the bottom. I maybe expect us to come down to like just range for a while until we can clear. But so right now, I think we're probably not at the total bottom. I think we might go a little bit lower, but I also think we might get into the zone of ranging for a while, where we kind of just go up and down, sideways, and it's not super significant movement. This pump made people a little less bearish at least, but we're still not in the best position possible. We still don't really have a good support in any of these channels. So that's something to be concerned about as well, because that's going to provide for pretty significant resistance. And when you can see the 200 week and the bottom of this channel are kind of coinciding. So 22,393 is going to be a pretty big resistance zone. Whenever we get ready to test that, we would technically have to break this 21 resistance, retest, and then come back and challenge. And I would imagine we get rejected off of this a bunch of times before we actually clear through. I noticed in the previous videos, I talked about how we slice through it, which is what we've done. And then when we slice through it, we have this V-shaped recovery, which could be slice through, V-shape, reject, come back up, reject, come back, finally clear. And when I say we're doing that, what that means is we've sliced through, we come back, we're stuck here, get rejected, get stuck here for a while. Maybe we come back down, then we slice through, test it again sometime in August, and then maybe we actually find some support here, and then we push through late August or even later. Maybe it's into next year. It's challenging to really tell and identify, but we can kind of look at, like we look at the COVID dump over here. That one was, notice on the weekly with the COVID dump, one of the same things happened. So we hit bottom, then we wicked all the way back up to this spot. We actually cleared the 200 week, so we haven't even tried to clear that yet, but we went all the way into this channel, all the way back down. So just a little bit above. So it was like boom, boom, came back up, rejected again, came back up, just got a little bit more strength each time until we finally cleared it. So it could be a situation like that, or moving into previous bear markets where we're clearing, when we're getting crushed, and then we finally clear past it. But when we looked at, this was, let's see, yeah, that was the COVID crash. So COVID crash was a pretty good indicator. What was this one? 2017 moved us into the 2018 bear market where we got kind of wrecked. We didn't actually hit as low in that bear market. When we look at this, I think this is the 2013 bear market. This put us in a world of hurt at the bottom. But we still didn't clear the bottom of the channel, but we did have some pretty significant wicks that came out of it. So like all the way down, all the way back up, all the way back down. So I think that's probably what we're looking at. I don't know if we're in this position to range yet. That candle does look pretty beefy. So we might be in the position to where we move back up and we start retesting. But the problem in the spot that concerns me about that is we haven't even shown the strength to come anywhere near this channel like we did in the past. So the strength to clear that and then just essentially drive all the way back up to like the 30,000 zone. So right now, essentially what we've done is we've sort of hit bottom and we haven't even been able to get to another significant resistance point. We can't even clear the first, like this resistance point. So that tells me that we're probably going to dump to the downside for a better kind of reaccumulation pattern back up. So what kind of something to look out for when we look at ETH, Bitcoin, we've still, I mean, we kind of bottomed out here. This is kind of where I anticipated the bottom to be. So what probably will happen is people will sell their alts back to Bitcoin. Alts will dump. As Bitcoin dumps again, we might test that. So that's where that's at. I don't think alts are really going to move hard yet. They're moving a little bit, maybe like a little mini alt season we have going on right now, but ETH is in sort of the same position. I talked about previously how ETH was, there was a couple little points to where I thought ETH was going to bottom out. So this was the top that a lot of people call because of the wick, but I usually test it off the wick. So I would have tested it like 1369. The next spot would have been 12, and then 11 would have been the next. And then the spots down here I had set up were like the 841 zone. If we go lower than that, we're probably go somewhere around 6 to like 700, which isn't a bad zone. So something to look out for. I think we're going to range sideways. We'll probably go back down and either test that bottom again or go a little bit lower, somewhere around like the 16,000 zone. And then we'll probably come back up and test, and we'll probably just range for months after that. That will that happen a week, maybe not, a couple of weeks, who knows? But I think that's sort of the path that we're going to head on. I think it's too early to celebrate. There's some people celebrating. I don't think we're at that zone yet to where we celebrate and we're like, well, let's go. When we look at stocks in the overall market, not really a lot happening. So stocks today, just nothing really. I mean, we're coming close to some of our moving averages, which I had marked down here around 10,700. When we look at the Dow Jones, I have that marked somewhere around like 1363. For some reason, let me refresh it. So that's Bitcoin. So when we look at the Dow Jones, I kind of had us marked just below this bottom channel, somewhere around 29.3, which I think might be a decent zone. So something to look out for. I don't think the stock market's really bottomed out yet. I think we might get a little bit of relief, but I don't necessarily think we're in the best position to like celebrate the fact that we're like going somewhere. We're on the next phase, or we're ready to crush it, or ready to move on and get out of the sort of bear economy that we're in. A couple other indicators like the US dollar. Let's turn off this rainbow. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop those in the comments as well, so I can answer any questions you might have. But when we look at the US dollar, it's still broken above its pattern. I mean, it looks like it's wanting to peak out somewhere around here. It just doesn't have the strength it did. So maybe we come back and test this, which would be obviously good for crypto. Then if we fall back in, it tends to be a good thing. Oil, another big indicator of where we're at that's been just crushing people. So oil's it's still sort of moving. We had this little peak out and then it came back down. It's kind of reaccumulating. I think it'll probably retest and come back and challenge that like 137 level. So probably keep going up, but I think we're in a place to where we might be closer to max pain. We might be closer to a spot to where we could see a little bit more dumping, but then we see sideways action for a while until the market figures out where it needs to go and ultimately what's going to happen. When you look down here, we've hit bottom, we've come back up, we've hit bottom. So maybe we have a little pump to come back up and then we sort of range for a while, but I don't know. I don't necessarily see the pain ending till like at least August. I think the rest of summer we range. I don't think we have any big pumps in crypto or like the stock market or anything. Then maybe August we see something, but still, I mean, probably not. I mean, we could sit here and range for 3 months. We could sit here and range for 9 months. It's hard to predict and tell. But all this to say, I don't necessarily think we're in a place to where we're ready to just celebrate and say that it's on its way back up. Me personally, at this point, what I'm just every time we hit a good bottom, I'm kind of moving myself back into the market. So like I've been saying a lot, I've been in stable coins for a while now, and I've hesitated to buy into the market because I didn't want to jump in early or jumping in any thought on whether Luna will ever restore value. No, that's a good question, actually. So once I finish this thought, we'll talk about Luna. But the thing I'm doing right now is like we hit 17. I'm going to Bitcoin, ETH, and I'm going to get some alts at that point. When we sit here in range at 20, I might play a little bit, but probably not. Every time now we come back near that 17 zone, anywhere from 16 to 17, I'm going to go back in, get a little bit of Bitcoin and ETH, and I'm going to get some L1s and stuff like that at that point as well. And so that's my accumulation zone, 16, 17. I put on Twitter that I think we might go as low as 13.8. So I'm going to start layering my bids down there between 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I can hit that zone because that's like life-changing wealth zone. That's a really good spot. And for me, that's a good spot to accumulate Bitcoin and ETH, and a really good spot to accumulate alts, which are essentially becoming worthless as they come back down. Not that they are worthless, but the value that they had was here, and now it's here. So at this point, I'm comfortable accumulating a lot of the bigger caps like Matic, Solana, AVAX, and coins like that, because I think that's going to provide an opportunity to get enormous wealth in the next bull run. I mean, you look at Bitcoin right now, or ETH right now. Say you get ETH between like 600 and 900. That could possibly be the easiest 10 times in history because ETH isn't going anywhere. It's going to pump hard on the next run. Why not accumulate something that can be that explosive at this zone? It's, in my opinion, it's like the least risky aspect of this entire thing. And I know we're at peak fear when people start hating on Ethereum, like, oh, Ethereum's dead, it's going to zero, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not. It has a ton of money in its system. It has a lot of developers. It has a lot of things happening. Some of the biggest biggest protocols are on ETH. So I don't see ETH going anywhere. It's kind of the behemoth of DeFi, the behemoth of everything. It is the app store of DeFi. Everyone's building on ETH. And if ETH2 goes well, it should create the ability to turn the tides and shift the system. So now, any thought on whether Luna will ever restore value? So I think what will happen with Luna, especially with the new Luna that they airdropped, is we're in a bear market now. So nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to pump it right now. Nobody cares right now. So my opinion on the new Luna is what we're going to do. Hold on. My dog is in here. She popped the door open with her nose. But what I think is going to happen with Luna, especially the new Luna that people got airdropped when they lost out on Anchor, is in the next bull run, I could see the token pumping a lot. And so what I would do in that position is hold that until, and this isn't financial advice, but if I was in that situation, I would hold it till the next bull run, because I think what will happen is it'll go up a ton. just by the very dynamic of a bull run. Because right now, nobody wants to buy it. Nobody wants to play the narrative because it's a bear. But in the bull market, everybody wants to buy anything and play any narrative. So I'd imagine it will pump, and it will pump a lot in the next bull run. The other thing that I think might be interesting with Luna is Luna Classic will probably, now that it's a meme, that thing will probably go insanely high in the next bull run. And this isn't financial advice, but just after seeing Doge and Sheeb and all these dumb dog coins go, now that Luna Classic is a meme, it will go nuts. And I would imagine UST at the same time. So even holding like 1 million or so of those might not be the worst idea in the world, because who knows? In the next bull run, memes go crazy. And when memes go crazy, we're probably near the top. So just be aware of that as well. Let's see. Watching live, liked and subscribed. Boom and boom. Leader of the free world. That's right. Taking over the world. So hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions. Post those in the comments and I'll answer them. But that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully it is exciting and helpful and guide you on the path to crypto stardom. Something I've been actually been thinking about is the groups I have and this channel, or this actual playlist. I'm actually thinking about calling it the Bear Market Society. We win in the bear so we can kill it in the bull. I think it creates a whole new narrative because everybody's trying to be the bull. We're going to be the Bear Market Society. We are going to crush it in the bear. So that way, when the bull happens, we don't have to buy anything. We don't have to play into FOMO. We don't have to do that stuff because we're already prepared to win. All we have to do is remove the narrative of HODL and diamond hands and not be afraid to let that shit go in the bull market. And I was talking to Steph about this the other day. I think something that really crushes people in crypto is getting on like Twitter and in these communities and stuff and getting this idea of like HODL till you die and diamond hands. And I have this outlook of 97 years, and it gets people on this mindset to where they shouldn't sell. They shouldn't offload their coins. They shouldn't take profits. And in my opinion, this is financial advice. That's all bullshit. Like, why not? If I took the initiative to purchase that thing and I see the thing go up 65%, 90%, whatever, I am going to take some of that off the table so I can continuously play and feed into the narrative of creating wealth. Because yeah, it's cool to have like sunshine and gumdrops, and it's cool to be like, hey, I have diamond hands and I have these coins. But what's even cooler about crypto is making money. And to be honest, and this might come as a shocker, so sit down and hold on to your pants. That's what we're all here for, to make money. Making friends along the way and stuff like that's cool. And it's exciting. And it's great interacting, connecting with people. But the reason we get into this stuff is to make money. So don't be afraid of the money. If you're afraid of the money, probably not in a position to make any. So I hope y'all have a great day. That's all I've got to say. If there's any more questions, post those in the comments. And that is it. I will talk